Hey, you. Ever been there? You've got that thing you know you need to tackle. Could be sorting out that overflowing drawer, maybe prepping for a big presentation.
Mm,
And yet somehow you find yourself, I don't know, meticulously cleaning your keyboard instead.
oh, yeah. We've all done that little dance, haven't we? Dodging the real task.
Totally. That gap between what we should do and what we, well, end up doing.
Yeah,
It's just very human.
it really is.
And today, that's exactly what we're diving into. Procrastination.
Yep.
We've been digging into this Thai podcast, Gan Gan, which basically means procrastination, how to stop. Trying to really get under the hood of why we put things off.
Okay.
So our mission here really is to give you a clear picture what procrastination actually is, why it kind of trips us up, the effects it has, and, the important bit, some real practical ways to deal with it.
Right.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding why you might suddenly decide to alphabetize your spice rack when you've got much bigger fish to fry.
Okay, let's unpack that. So, at its core, what are we actually talking about? What is procrastination, really?
Well, from what we've gathered, especially from the Thai podcast, it's not just, being a bit lazy or taking it easy.
Right. There's a distinction.
Yeah, it's more like the deliberate choice to delay tasks, important ones, even when there's no, solid reason for it. It's a conscious decision, apparently, to do something else, even though you know that other thing needs doing. That urge to just push it down the line.
Right, until the deadline looms.
Or sometimes even past it.
Exactly. Laziness might be more a general lack of get up and go, but procrastination, that's actively choosing something else, usually something, easier or more fun in the moment,
Instant gratification.
despite knowing that important task is just sitting there waiting.
Okay, so if you're listening and thinking, maybe this is me, what are some common signs? What does it look like?
Well, one big sign, something they talked about on Morgenkan, is consistently dodging tasks that feel hard. Or just boring, maybe.
Okay, avoidance.
Yeah. You might notice you always find something else that suddenly seems way more urgent. And there was this researcher mentioned, Dr. Joseph Ferrari. He pointed out something interesting.
Oh, yeah?
He said people who procrastinate often have these huge to-do lists, right? But they only tackle maybe one or two tiny things. Or worse.
What?
They spend ages just reorganizing the list itself instead of actually doing anything on it.
Oh, I feel seen. Definitely felt that urge to perfect the list as a pre-task task.
It's classic. It's a common tactic. And often, as the podcast discussions highlighted, those avoidance things are, well, the easy wins, right? Scrolling social media, watching videos.
Right, the instant dopamine hits.
Exactly.
Okay. So we can kind of picture it now. But why? What's really driving this? What are the underlying causes?
Ugh. Oh, this is where it gets really fascinating. A big piece of the puzzle seems to be emotion regulation.
Emotion regulation. How so?
Well, many experts now see procrastination less as a time management issue and more as a way we kind of cope with difficult feelings. The Thai podcast touched on this, suggesting we often put things off to avoid the negative emotions that come up when we just think about the task.
I think what kind of feelings?
Oh, fear of failing, anxiety about how it'll turn out, maybe just feeling inadequate or full of self-doubt.
So wait, my brain is basically trying to protect me from feeling bad right now.
Exactly.
Even if it means way more stress later on.
That's the theory. It's a short-term fix for an emotional discomfort.
Wow.
And as the experts noted, that fear, it can wear different masks. It's not always just fear of stuffing up.
Yeah.
It could be fear of getting negative feedback or criticism. And this one's interesting. Sometimes even a fear of what success might bring.
Fear of success. Now that sounds kind of weird. How does that work?
Well, sometimes, maybe subconsciously, we link success with more pressure, right? Higher expectations, more responsibility.
Ah, okay. The anxiety of having to keep it up.
Exactly. Or maybe fear of how relationships might change. So, weirdly, procrastinating can feel like a way to sabotage yourself and avoid those potential pressures.
Never thought of it that way. What about perfectionism? That gets linked to procrastination a lot, too.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. That desire for everything to be just right, impossibly perfect,
Yeah.
it can totally paralyze you.
Oh.
Well, if you feel like you can't possibly meet that super high standard you've set,
Yeah.
you might just delay starting. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect inspiration. which, let's be honest, might never actually arrive.
Right. Or you just avoid it altogether because you're scared it won't be good enough.
Precisely. Though, as one speaker on the Type podcast put it really well, inspiration usually comes from doing the work, not before it.
Good point. You can't steer a parked car, right?
Something like that.
Okay, what about those tasks that just feel like pulling teeth?
Yeah.
The really boring ones, or the ones that seem kind of pointless.
Oh, yeah. Those are prime procrastination fodder. If a task has zero interest for you, or you just can't see the value in it.
Your motivation just tanks.
Absolutely. Your motivation dips, and suddenly anything else looks more appealing. Your mind is way more open to distractions then.
And speaking of distractions, man, it feels like we live in an age of constant interruption.
We definitely do. The whole digital world, notifications popping up, endless feeds, games. It's a constant battle for focus.
For sure.
But it's also worth remembering, like they discussed on the podcast, that while the types of distractions might be new,
Yeah.
the human tendency to seek distraction when faced with something unpleasant, that's pretty old school.
True. We've always found ways to avoid things we don't want to do.
There's also this psychological thing called present bias.
Present bias.
Yeah, it's our tendency to value immediate pleasure or reward much more highly than future benefits.
Ah, okay. So scrolling Instagram now feels way better than the satisfaction of finishing that report later.
In the moment, yes. Our brain is wired for that immediate gratification.
Okay, so we've got these reasons: emotions, fear, perfectionism, boredom, distractions, present bias. Quite a cocktail.
It is.
So what's the actual cost? What's the impact of letting procrastination run the show?
It can be pretty widespread, actually. Emotionally, like the Thai podcast highlighted, chronic procrastination can really feed this negative loop.
How so?
You get more stressed, more anxious, feel guilty, dissatisfied.
Yeah, that cycle of putting it off, feeling bad, then feeling worse because you put it off.
Exactly. And over time, those persistent negative feelings can even, in some cases, contribute to things like depression.
Wow, that's serious. What about the more practical stuff, like work or studying?
Oh, the consequences there are often really obvious, aren't they? Lower productivity, missed deadlines.
Yep, been there.
Which can definitely hurt your career path or your grades. Plus, the stress of always doing things last minute. It can mess with the quality of your work.
True. And probably your relationships too, right? If you're always late or letting people down.
Absolutely. It can strain relationships with colleagues, bosses, even friends and family.
Okay, so emotional toll, work-study impact. Does it actually affect our physical health too?
Well, there's growing research, some referenced alongside the podcast material, suggesting connections there too.
Really? Like what?
Things like sleep problems, maybe because you're stressed or working late. Digestive issues, potentially a weaker immune system from chronic stress.
Yikes.
And some studies even suggest a possible increased risk over the long term for cardiovascular issues. There's also research looking into potential effects on, like, brain structure and function.
Whoa. Okay, so this isn't just a minor bad habit. It seems like it can have pretty far-reaching effects.
It really can, yeah.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. What can we actually do about it? How do we break the cycle? How do we manage this thing?
Okay, the good news is there are strategies. The You comments on the podcast and lots of other research point to several effective approaches.
Lay 'em on us.
One of the biggest, most recommended ones, break it down.
Break down the task?
Yeah. Big, overwhelming tasks feel, well, overwhelming. So chop them into smaller, much more manageable steps.
Okay.
Think of it like you don't eat a whole pizza in one go, right? You eat it slice by slice. Or maybe bite by bite.
Good analogy. So instead of write massive report,
It becomes, okay, step 1, outline the introduction. Or even smaller, find 3 key sources for section 1.
right, makes it feel less like climbing Mount Everest.
Exactly. And tied to that is setting really clear, achievable goals for each of those mini steps.
Not just vague stuff.
Nope. Not just work on presentation, make it specific, measurable. Like draft the first 3 slides by lunchtime.
Okay. Clear, achievable goals for small steps. Got it. What else?
Time management techniques can be super helpful. Ever heard of the Pomodoro technique?
Vaguely. Remind me.
It's basically working in focused bursts, traditionally 25 minutes, then taking a short break, like 5 minutes. Repeat.
Okay. Short sprints.
Yeah. It helps maintain focus and stops you from burning out. Then there's time blocking.
Time blocking.
That's where you actually schedule specific times in your calendar for specific tasks. Like Tuesday, 10:11 in Airman, work on Project X.
So you treat it like an appointment you can't miss.
Pretty much. The podcast host mentioned how valuable these kinds of structured approaches can be.
I can see that. The Pomodoro thing?
Yeah.
Those breaks probably make the work bursts feel less daunting, too.
They really do. And here's a super simple one. The 2-minute rule.
2-minute rule.
Yeah. If a task pops up that will take less than 2 minutes to do,
Yeah.
just do it immediately, right then and
Yeah.
there. Don't even put it on a list.
I like that, like answering a quick email or putting a dish in the dishwasher.
Exactly. Stops those tiny things piling up and feeling overwhelming later.
Smart. Okay, what else is in the toolkit?
Minimizing distractions. This one's crucial in our modern world.
Tell me about it.
You got to figure out what your main distractors are. Phone notifications, specific websites, noise, and then actively try to reduce them when you need to focus.
Easier said than done sometimes, but yeah, crucial. Turn off the phone, close the tabs.
Whatever it takes for you. Now, what about when the motivation just isn't there? Like, you know what to do, you've broken it down, but you still can't start.
Yeah, that's the killer sometimes.
Okay, couple of things here. One, rewards. Give yourself a little something to look forward to after you complete a task, even a small one.
Like a coffee break or listening to a song.
Sure, whatever works for you. Also, try focusing on the positive outcome. Remind yourself why you're doing it, how good it'll feel to have it done.
Focus on the relief.
Yeah. And another powerful tool, accountability.
Meaning?
Tell someone what you plan to do, a friend, a colleague, someone who can check in with you. Knowing someone else is kind of expecting it.
Can give you that extra nudge. Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely. And here's one that might sound a bit soft, but it's really important. Self-compassion.
Self-compassion. How does that help with procrastination?
Well, beating yourself up for procrastinating usually just makes you feel worse, right?
Totally. More guilt, more anxiety.
Which, ironically, makes you more likely to procrastinate again to avoid those bad feelings.
Ah, the vicious cycle again.
Exactly. So forgive yourself for past procrastination. Acknowledge it happened. Try to learn from it what triggered it. And then move on without the harsh self-criticism.
Treat it like data, not a moral failing.
That's a great way to put it. It's about learning your patterns.
Okay. What else? Any mindset shifts?
Yeah. Try reframing the task. Can you find any angle that makes it slightly more interesting, any hidden benefit, even a small one?
Looking for the silver lining.
Kinda. Or just focus intensely on that feeling of accomplishment you'll get when it's finally off your plate.
Right. Visualize the finish line.
And finally, maybe the simplest but hardest advice.
Go on.
Just start. Just start. Often, the biggest hurdle is literally just taking that first tiny action. Open the document. Write one sentence, make the phone call. Once you're in motion, momentum often takes over.
The inertia is broken.
Exactly. Getting started is often more than half the battle.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a ton here. We've looked at procrastination, not just as laziness, but as this deliberate delay.
Often driven by trying to manage uncomfortable emotions.
Right. And fueled by things like fear, perfectionism, maybe just boredom, and all those distractions around us.
And we talked about the real impact on our stress levels, our guilt, our productivity, our work, maybe even our physical health.
Yeah, it's not trivial. But the good news is we've also walked through a whole bunch of actionable strategies people can try.
Absolutely. Breaking tasks down, setting those clear, small goals.
Using techniques like Pomodoro or time blocking, the 2-minute rule.
Tackling distractions, boosting motivation with rewards or accountability.
And remembering to be kind to yourself. Practice self-compassion.
And reframing things, and then just taking that first step. Phew. Lots to think about.
Definitely. Which kind of brings us to a final thought for you, listening. Understanding all the stuff about procrastination, that's a really important first step, absolutely. But making real lasting changes, that takes consistent effort. It takes, self-awareness, noticing your own pattern.
Yeah, knowing why you do it.
Exactly. So we really encourage you, take a moment after this, reflect on your own habits. When do you tend to procrastinate?
What triggers it for you?
And maybe try out one or two of these strategies, see what sticks.
Yeah, experiment, see what resonates. Because here's the real question to ponder. What's one small, tiny change you could make, maybe even today, to start nudging yourself away from putting things off and towards tackling those things that actually matter to you?